Hello and welcome to this overview of some of the advanced ways we can set up flexible blur. So to start with, we just have this old URP demo scene that I've haphazardly migrated to 6.3. I've installed the Flexible UI suite, which contains flexible image and flexible blur. So in this case, I'm just going to use a flexible image component. We could just as easily use a blurred image, but the flexible image is nice for what I'm going to demonstrate. I'm just going to make it bigger. I'm going to add a 20-point outline, and I'll give it a quick gradient. And if I enable blur, then we see some warnings, no camera reference applied. So we'll supply a reference, and the camera is missing the flexible blur feature. So we'll add a render feature, flexible blur feature, and just like that, we have a nice little blur there. So I'm going to actually take that URP render, and I'm just going to put it over here because we're going to come back to it a lot. So this is an overlay canvas, and it renders after everything, and that's important, because no matter where we put the render pass event for the flexible blur feature, it's going to be rendering before the overlay. So we can't bloom out, we can't accumulate, everything will just work. But if we were to set it to a screen space camera, and we were to actually apply a render camera, first of all, it's behind all the geometry. It's just being included, so we can move the play distance forward. And now we still see that there's an issue. It's like accumulating and blooming out. So the one way to solve this would be to add an extra camera, set this camera to an overlay, set the culling mask to just UI. Add that to the camera stack, and then take UI out of the main camera's culling mask and set this UI camera to be the render camera for the canvas. And now that's working, and we have screen space camera, so we can actually have depth unlike screen space overlay. However, cameras are actually very expensive in URP, and we want to use as few cameras as possible. If we can only use one camera in the scene, that's ideal. So let's actually take this concept and just get rid of it. Let's not do that. We'll put that back, have that look at the UI, and we'll use that, and now we have the same issue. It's blooming out. So how can we fix that? So first we need to understand why it's happening, and why it's happening is that the UI is in the transparent queue, and our render pass is after rendering post-processing. Now if we moved it to after rendering transparent, we'd have the same issue, we just don't have post-processing anymore. If we put it to before rendering transparent, then it works. At least it looks like it works. So what this will mean is that we can capture all the opaque geometry, but if we had anything transparent, anything like a particle effect, that would not show up in our blur. And that's probably not ideal. So let's move this back to after rendering post-processing. And there's a way we can actually get around this, and that is to use render objects. And the way that we would do this is we take our transparent layer mask in our render data, we would deselect UI. And now that canvas isn't showing at all. It's not being rendered. What we can do is we can take a render objects render feature, and then we could set its layer mask to UI. Set its event to after rendering post-processing, which is the same as on our flexible blur feature. Set the queue to transparent, and there we go. And there's another nice thing we could do if we had like the plane distance at 100 again. Now it's being included. We can actually get around that if we override the depth and set that to test always. And now we have what we want. If we have transparent objects, they'll appear in our blur. We still only have a single camera. But what if we wanted to have, and let's actually add some text here. What if we wanted to, for example, and I don't think I have TM Pro installed yet, so instead of going through that, we'll just add legacy text. What if we wanted to have layered blur? So let's do that there. And let's, I don't know, we'll make that white and bigger. We'll say stacked blur. That's too big. 200. There we go. So what if we want to do stacked blur on for our UI? And the one way we could do this is if we duplicate our flexible image component, we just sort of move it over. And to demonstrate this, I'm going to set this guy's vibrancy to nothing. And you can see, no matter what we do, this guy cannot see underneath. But we could set the blur layer to 1. And now it actually can see that blur underneath. And if we change the vibrancy, we can see that that is actually propagating. So this blur is blurring that blur, but what it's not doing is it isn't blurring any of the other UI elements. It's only capturing the blur. Of any other UI element, the border, the text, nothing else is being preserved. And this is okay. It's cheap, but relatively cheap, but maybe we could do better. Okay, so one way we could do this is if we just had a big stack of UI cameras, one per canvas, and if we had multiple canvases here, for example, I'm just going to create some copies and move these guys over and move that guy over again. And this is all over the place right now. But if we had multiple canvases, we could set, and multiple UI cameras, we could set this guy to render from the first UI camera, then this guy in the second UI camera, and etc. And then this flexible image would reference the main camera, this one would reference the UI camera, this one would reference the next UI camera, and it would just be a chain. But then we end up with a bunch of cameras, and as we know, multiple cameras are actually not good for performance. So there's actually something we could do here, and that is we could add additional layers. We could do UI2, UI3, and in the main camera, make sure the culling mask, culling mask should have all the UIs on it, but this transparent layer mask should not have the UIs, and that's correct. The first canvas, we're going to set that to UI2. We'll change children, and the last canvas here, we'll set it to UI3, and we'll go yes, change children. So now what we could do is we could do the same trick again. So we'd a flexible blur feature, and we could do a render objects, and in render objects we do the same thing. We'd go after rendering, post-processing, transparent, this time UI2, and then we would go depth and always, and now everything's showing up. And then we could do another flexible blur feature, and then another render objects feature, and this guy again would go after post-processing, transparent UI3, and we'll do depth always once again. So this is already looking better, but it's actually not stacking yet. So the idea here is going to be that, we blur, we apply the blur, then we render the canvas. Then we apply another blur, then we render the next canvas. We apply the last blur, and we render the last canvas. The problem is we have 3 features, and now that we have multiple features on the render data, we have this feature number field that's appeared, and everybody's trying to do feature number 0. So if now I set this guy to feature number 1, and this guy to feature number 2, now all of a sudden we actually have a stacked setup. So one other way we can do this, and because this is annoying to have to do this for every component we add, is we could do add a blur reference provider, do the main camera, say it's the second feature, and then we could just use a reference provider. And if we added another flexible image, and we, I don't know, go 500 by 500, move her over there, rotate, whatever we want to do, add blur enabled, and then automatically we're just using the reference provider again, and we can see everything underneath. So that's basically how we can do this with a single camera. We can have a stacked blur setup by using multiple layers, and then by setting up a chain of flexible blur features and render objects features. And if we wanted to, we could change individual settings for these also. Yeah, that is how to get true single camera stacked blur with flexible image, and I believe flexible blur. And I believe flexible blur is the only solution that you can do this with in Unity. Otherwise, you are going to have a multiple camera setup, and those are expensive. So yeah, thanks for watching. And if you have any problems with the setup, feel free to contact me, but I don't want to be inundated with 100 people all asking me. So, there's some information in the documentation that goes over the same thing. So try your hardest, but if you run into issues setting this up, for sure, help out to Discord. We can do a screen share. We can go over it. Okay, take care, everybody.